hey, I'm gonna get myself a real microphone here, right? No, it's long overdue. I admit it. I totally do. But I have a sexy microphone, and now I'm with possibly a better. You laughed when I introduced you on Facebook. I saw I cracked you up when you read it. It's like he might be a better interviewer than me, and he actually might be, ladies and gentlemen. He has a pretty good podcast in his own right. It's Timothy Niederriter, back for more abuse from me. Man, you just keep on to come back for more, don't you?
Hey, why not? I mean, it's a fun time. It's always good.
Yeah.
I almost slipped in my Italian parody voice there, which is something people might be getting a whiff of on the other podcasts sometime soon. Because the not my podcast, but the one I used to co-host is coming back.
Oh, really? Which one are you doing?
Potentially, it's of Mooks and Monsters. It's a role-playing game podcast, and I
Ooh.
played a mafia campaign recently with my co-hosts, and that might actually be going up at some point. No promises exactly when, but it'll probably just be on YouTube eventually. Yeah.
All right, hold on a second. So, Jag, how do I sound? How do I sound, Jag Dress? I'm just curious. Yes. But no, it's cool. Like I think RPG podcasts are a blast. I think they Josh, is Josh sounding clear now? Actually, that's the question. Do I?
I think you do. It's a miracle.
I know.
It's a Christmas miracle, except it's not Christmas.
Well, it's cool. Like I can honestly say this. Like I got this. I'll just answer this question to Jag before we go back to the interview. Here is, I actually got paid for writing, and so what I did was with what I got paid for writing, I actually was able to buy this microphone. I was waiting for this. Yeah. Tim's great. Like Tim is excellent writer. Excellent host. He does a really cool little podcast. He's had an interview with me a few times, just a few. I mean, not that he has a drinking problem now, but that's okay. That's another story for another.
I have a drinking problem. It's that I don't have any drink.
Yeah. But no, man, it's well, you got to evolve. Like I think one of the most important things, like you know this too. It's just when you do your shows, when you do. She's with you, Tim. She's with you.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people are.
Yeah.
Sentiment like that.
Yeah. No, I have coffee. It's not the same.
I mean, I actually like coffee better than I like booze or beer. I mean, okay. I know that's criminal, but I'm also not allowed to overdrink because of various problems I have. And it's not like I'm not an alcoholic. I just have various issues.
No, see, I'm Canadian. We are alcoholics. That's a
You're all alcoholics.
No. Oh my gosh. So funny story. So then this will start, and then we'll get into we're going to talk about eventually. Is
sure.
I went to a writing retreat in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and I was living in Calgary at the time, and so I'm coming down from the mountain, so I really can't get drunk. I mean, I can drink. And I'll feel like
you won't get drunk.
Not at all.
See, it's like the opposite for me, but go on.
Yeah. So anyway, well, it's when you go up the mountain, if you don't live on a mountain community, you go back up the mountain, one drink will knock you out for days. Like if I do move back, I'm looking at moving back out west right now. I'm kind of quietly just seeing if I can get something steady, I'm going to go, because I don't. In light of what might be coming, I'd rather not be in Windsor. Just in general, I just rather just not.
Sounds sinister.
Well, it's not necessarily.
Never mind.
It's gonna be still an interesting couple of years, regardless of where we go from here. But the whole point is, right? It's like, where do you want to be? And where do you want to do, and who do you want to hang out with and see and stuff? And I haven't really made any real connections here. I've tried. It's just, I think the most disappointing thing about here is the fact that it's like, you go to people, what excites you? I'm working in this factory, and this is all I want to do. And I get that to a point. I mean, you want some kind of stability, and stability isn't a bad thing. But man, no dreams. Like, yeah, I don't.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I know there's some people like that. That's one of the reasons I've got to roll and move my location sometime soon, once I'm able.
No. Oh, absolutely. I'm not rushing, but I'm trying. I'm trying to make it happen, because it's just like, honestly, like I literally spent 6 years. I spent 6 years with people who were acting or writing or
Mm-hmm.
singing or performing or doing something with their lives. And I don't I don't like, again, there's nothing wrong with a day job, but there's got to be more to life than that. And it's one of those things where I looked at that and just said, I can't, I just can't. I will be drinking seriously in 2 3 years if I'm here for a long extended enough period of time. But anyway, to go with my alcohol story. So I'm in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Now, if you've ever been to Winnipeg, Manitoba, you know why those people drink. And if Jag, if listening to this, is probably laughing her ass off when she hears me say that. But the thing about that is, um, when they were drinking, man, holy shit, were they drinking that? The first night of the retreat, it was me and one other guy were the sober ones. I drank a little bit. I had some honey liqueur. Like, this was not weak stuff, but I'm not getting drunk, so it doesn't hit me the same way, right? So I had one or two, and it's like, I'm good, right? I don't mind, like again, and I enjoy a drink. A drink. That's the key. A drink.
Right. Actually, that's where we're the same. Just one at a time.
Yeah.
Lots of water.
One or two is fine.
Yeah.
Like I my family, I've had access to booze since I was like 4. My family's Maltese and German, so we don't care. It's not like, and if it's right there, it loses a lot of its appeal. Yeah, I'll have a drink. Sure, I'll have a beer, but it's a beer. It's not like, oh my God, you can't. I'm not gonna. No,
Yeah, there's no glamour to it in that way. Though, actually, also, you say you're Maltese. That's fascinating. Maltese. I only think of one thing when I think of Malta. Honestly, you know what it is?
The
book Empire of the Seas and the big siege of Malta that happened back in the Crusades.
Oh,
at the end of the Crusades, really, or the Ottoman Empire. Sorry, sieged Malta. Yeah.
Oh,
and that was a crazy event in history. Anyway, that's all. But I'm sure you know all about that.
We've been conquered by we've been conquered by everybody. Like, we literally have a little bit of every race in us, because Malta's always been an important.
It's right in the middle.
It's right in the middle of everything. And if you're going to launch, like, my grandmother was born during World War II when and the Nazis and the British were both going back and forth bombing, because Malta's a port. It's totally important and strategic to the world. So for the first 4 or 5 years of my grandmother's life, she lived in caves because she had to, because she had to. You were getting bombed every day. But I mean, so Malta's always been at odds with whomever's been in charge, right? Whether it was the British in our time, whether it was the Romans, the Greeks, the Turks, then, big time. The Turks
before the Ottoman Empire fell apart.
Yeah, no, like, and sometimes Malta does pull back invasions. But again, we won far less than we lost, right? Yeah. We lost a lot. Because again, we're small. There's 2 million of us on the planet. Like, we that's it, right? I mean, you look at everybody else, like, there's a lot more of you, but like I said, in us, because again, everybody's been there. French has been there. English, Spanish, you name it. Everybody has conquered Malta at some point. It's almost like you're a serious empire when, click, you conquer Malta. Why? Because Malta's got access to everything, north and south. So yeah. Then I'm German, so then I'm the so there's the other part of me, which is the barbarian, which gets to which runs around and conquers people and maybe kits the skulls of his enemies to impress the woman he's trying to marry. Just, I don't know, like so I got a little bit of both.
What do you know? Yeah, that sort of thing.
Well,
it's a good time.
Yeah,
it's history for you. Too.
Hey, listen. Trying to impress a chick has been one of the biggest motivators for a lot of guys. It really is.
I'm nodding sagely. I understand.
It's like, hey, that girl's really hot. How can I impress her? I know. I'll decapitate her enemy and put it on her wall. And Germans did that. So I mean, it's just like
it's like pickle barrel, just to make sure it stays fresh, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Oof. Yeah. Wow, we talked about decapitated heads in like 10 minutes. This is.
Well, I mean, hey, I write fantasy. I mean, I can talk about it.
Yeah, totally.
Not all that many heads getting chopped off in my books, but not these days. A lot of those happen in fantasy.
Well, yeah, but I mean, today our weapons are more sophisticated. We use tiny little pellets. and possibly drugs. And possibly drugs. Right? So that's...
Oh, what do you mean possibly? No,
yeah. Yeah. And she was talking, Jay was talking about decapitation too. That's awesome.
It comes up,
Well, it's like I said, we haven't changed. Like, human nature hasn't changed in thousands of years. We are still essentially the same species. We are at our dumbest when we are scared. We are at our best when we are facing our fears. It's kind of like it's the best and worst of us are in that precipice of how we deal with fear. So, I actually posted on my Facebook page questions like, how do you defeat fear? And I love the answers to that so far. It's been really interesting to see how people approach fear, because it's very appropriate. Like, when we tell stories, like especially fantasy, you're dealing with the dragon.
Yeah.
All the time. You're slaying the dragon.
Monsters, in my case, demons, all sorts of random stuff. But, you know what interests me about that, though, is that some monsters and stuff, they're my favorite kind of thing in fantasy, really. They're this kind of literalization that is really of fear and of weirdness in some cases. I love that kind of thing. But one of the things that's really been driving me lately has been it's fortuitous you mentioned this, because it's been conquering my own fears. Very heavily focused on that lately. And also chemically conquering my own weaknesses. By which I mean I've been taking a lot of vitamin D supplements. But anyway, and it's really been helpful. It's like little tweaks like that. It's not always a big medication. Sometimes it's something small that just increases the quality of your life enough that you can face your fear.
So take coffee.
Yeah.
Simple, cheap thing, coffee. It's got some stuff for the head. It's also got some stuff for the lungs. If you want to make coffee and medicine, you just add two things to it: vanilla and peppermint. Take peppermint and coffee, you'd make actually the caffeine 5 times stronger. And suddenly it's much more alert. It's because peppermint's an oxidizer. And because since peppermint's an oxidizer, anything it touches, a really cool experiment if you ever want to do something for fun. If you're a hot sauce guy, if you like hot sauces, take
not so much, but sure.
No, yeah, but
and not me, but listeners, pay attention.
Yeah. If you want to do something kind of fun, you take a little peppermint and add it to your hot sauce, just a little bit, not much. Not much is required. It will actually make your hot sauce super hot, like that. It's an oxidizer, right? So because it's an oxidizer, it makes everything around it bigger. Now vanilla is one of the very few things on the planet. I know. And see, I'm a chemist too. Don't tell anybody. I'm insane. No, I just research shit. Like, this is it.
I think Jag called it. I think you can't protest anymore. They got you.
Yeah. But vanilla is take vanilla. Vanilla is one of the very few things on this planet that stimulates all 4 parts of the brain. It's a very special. It's unique that way. So if you take a little vanilla, you take a little peppermint, you take a little coffee, and you put it together, you have like one of the best antidepressants, and it doesn't cost anything. Like, it costs a cup of coffee.
Yeah, it costs like maybe $1 if you're buying it out.
Exactly.
And you're going cheap.
Yeah,
you can get that for $1. And I mean, like where I work, actually, I work in a cafe, and I get $1 coffee that lasts all day because it gets refills.
Yeah,
and I can add whatever cream I want, and I always add the French vanilla cream to it, honestly, because I'm
it's good
sweet tooth.
It's good shit.
But and you put all that together, and I mean, now I got to try the peppermint, but I think that might make me jittery.
I'm not sure if I need the extra strength. It's strong. Like, my warning is, if you're going to do that, put a sweetener, like something that you like in there. Not a lot, obviously, for obvious reasons, but you want a sweetener in there because holy shit. Because here's the thing, peppermint gets stronger with the coffee the longer it's together.
The bitter stuff will get stronger too then.
Yeah.
Okay.
It gets stronger. But you'll breathe better. See, it also helps with your breathing too. So it's a combination that makes your mind more alert, keeps your breathing better. I learned this because I used to do 2 jobs. So I work from 2 in the afternoon to 6 o'clock in the morning. And coffee just wasn't doing it after a while. So it's like, well, what do I do? And it's like, and peppermint came into the equation. And it's like, nope, that works. That works fine. I'm good.
Wow. Probably don't need that necessarily for me. But I mean, I start my day with a coffee now, along with my drug cocktail. Like a lot of people take this kind of thing now. I have a lot of different prescriptions and stuff. But anyway, regardless of that, and now I doubled the number of pills I take just because I added so much vitamin D to my system, and they're all tiny pills, but I take a bunch of them.
Yeah,
because that's what I had.
I also wouldn't recommend it just because of the pills you're taking. Like I wouldn't.
Yes, exactly. I'm careful about that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't overdo. Like I only drink a cup or two of coffee a day, so I don't think I need to make it strong.
No. I'm no. Well, it's not even so much that. Like if you're gonna do something like that, it's the fact is that peppermint's an oxidizer, makes everything around it smaller.
Oh, right. That's actually a good point. It would make everything else stronger too once I ingest it.
Yeah. So you don't. So if you're gonna do it, wait like an hour before or an hour like after.
Okay.
Yeah. An hour before, like let it actually get in your system before you. Yeah. What, Jag? Why are you saying wow? Like seriously, I could tell you so many different like formulas and cocktails because I again just growing up, my dad was a naturopath. Like I know nothing compared to him, honestly. You cannot help but learn, right? You cannot help but learn just being around that all the time. You start seeing and trying some of your own stuff. Yeah. Seriously. Yeah, you'd watch his YouTube today and think he's a little crazy because now he's dealing with nanotechnology and lots of he's gone down this really interesting like rabbit hole. But his formula is how to make iodine, right? It's like how to make iodine and copper and how to use them medically. Like in terms of that, like my dad's a genius. Like no joke. Like he's legitimately a genius. And it's one of those things where you look at it and you see it and you see what he's doing. Some of it looks absolutely nuts. Some of it is absolutely nuts, but some of it is incredibly. When you deal with someone with that kind of brilliance, you get that both lines of the eccentricity there, and it's amazing. It's amazing to watch the things he creates, and I grew up with that all the time. Like I grew up with that all the time. So when I grew up with that, it was like I could see it taught me a completely different way to how to look at medicine, because it's not just I'm to have a symptom, here's how to deal with the system. No. Let's look at everything. Let's look at your diet. Let's look at how all this stuff plays together with what you're doing, because that's how you actually build the real building blocks to a healthy lifestyle. It's not the medicines you take. Is how you use your food as your medicine, which is honestly something that's never taught anymore, right? Hey, we got a pill for this. You know what's better? I don't need the pill. I can just eat. That's an even better way.
Yeah, you eat the right food. I would take. I mean, when I needed an antacid in college, I'd just drink some milk. Get a strong, fairly like a 2% milk would be enough because I had pretty mild, stomach acid reflux. But that's enough sometimes. I wouldn't need a stronger thing. And some people won't need that stuff, but you know what I mean? Like it's just, if you get what's right for you, it's going to be easier.
Oh yeah.
And that can be as simple as food or drink.
Well,
and it doesn't have to be drugs.
Well, no. Well, here's the thing.
Because everything kind of is a drug. That's really the bottom line. Everything has chemicals in it. It's all work. It all works in some regard the same way.
There is a difference though between like so this is how I would classify it. Like this is just how I classify the differences between them. So let's say I'm taking an antidepressant for depression. Okay. Now let's say, for the sake of argument, this antidepressant, the way it deals with your depression is it makes your body pump out more serotonin. Just hypothetically, okay? So the pill is telling your body to make more serotonin. So your body makes more serotonin, right?
Yeah.
It's basically, right? Now, if I take a food, let's say I approach it a little different. Let's say I approach it personally. Maybe the antidepressant source is in your stomach. Maybe there's something that's just like, maybe instead of maybe the serotonin being a block, like you're being unable to make serotonin, maybe there's a blockage in your stomach somewhere that's not letting you process it correctly. So maybe the solution is as simple as vitamin C. Take a little vitamin C, clean out your stomach, and free it up. What you're doing now is you're letting your body do its natural processes. right? And you're clearing out this, right? That's the difference between a food and a drug. Food in general is building blocks, and your body will do what it's supposed to do. A drug doesn't necessarily work under those assumptions. It can, don't get me wrong, it can, but not necessarily always. So it's why it's very important when you look at the drugs you're taking. It's like, well, what are they doing to my body? Because it's not like it might help you in the short term, but then you gotta look at, okay, if I'm pumping up this much serotonin, let's say I do have a blockage, is that really helping? Or let's go another extreme. Maybe I make too much serotonin, and that's going to just shut me down in a completely different way. It's a lot trickier. It's your body on its own, as a general rule of thumb, knows what it's doing. So I take the more Eastern medicine approach, where it's like, let the body do what it's supposed to do, only interfere if it can't. That's me.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then, like, I've gotten a lot of chemical improvements in my, chemical various things, supplements, that kind of thing. Not a big deal, mostly little tweaks, but I've noticed huge improvements over the past few months. In my mood, my energy levels, all these things have really improved. And I haven't really changed how I've been eating, because I don't always get to choose what I'm eating. But I do. But just adding those supplements has really leveled me out.
And you know, like, again, it's about working with what you have too. I mean, that's a big part of it as well. Sometimes you're not going to have access to the best things in the world. You don't necessarily need to. It's about knowing and understanding how to utilize what you have. Like, for example, vitamin C as a citric acid, it's dirt cheap. So is rosemary. Right? You cook with those two things, suddenly you have a nerve tonic. So someone that maybe is having a depression issue, well, now you've strengthened their nervous system. Now, over a short period of time, it would improve their ability to cope. Again, it doesn't cure the depression exactly, but what you're doing is you're giving your body the tools necessary in order to actually make it stronger, able to withstand more. Now, again, doesn't solve your problem completely, but that's not what I'm trying to do. It's using what you have to make yourself the best you can. Does that make sense?
No, it's more like a treatment or optimization than it is like a. There's no cure for some of these things. There's no cure for being alive. You're a human. Humans are always going to have problems. No matter, and living things always have problems.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like and sometimes those problems are natural. They're just the challenges that arise in your life. And other times they're things that your body isn't working properly, which can be also natural. Don't get me wrong, but you know what I mean. Like, sometimes it's internal, sometimes it's external, right? But you're always going to have something that's in your way.
Yeah, I think the big thing that needs to be understood, like, about our world, is, by and large, our environment is artificial. That doesn't mean it's like it's fully it's fully artificial, but there's a lot of artificiality in our environment.
Right.
So it's going to react with us a certain way. Without and if you can recognize, okay, here's the thing. I'm in an air-conditioned room right now. Not all artificial things are bad, don't get me wrong.
No.
But it is an artificial environment, right? There's pros and there's cons to it, and you have to be aware of those things and how they impact you over an extended period of time. Now, there are extremes, obviously, and there's definitely there are pros and cons to that. But in general, it's the awareness, the education of how your body feels doing it, and actually that practice of understanding how it works. There are 3 experts when it comes to your health. The first is the companies that make these medicines. The second is your doctor, but the third is you. You live with whatever it is you're given, taken, and how it reacts to you. You know that better than anybody else, because frankly, you are walking that path every single day. So you have to trust that part of it too. Like I think health is very much a combination of those 3 things. I think it's where I differ from most people is I go like this. Instead of the company being the biggest expert and the doctor and then you, it's you because you have to live with it. Then your doctor, because your doctor has the most information about you specifically. And then it's the companies making these drugs. Companies are the generalist. doctors are kind of like the specialists of how to treat you. I mean, that's why everybody's got these different antidepressants, every these different like medicines, because not everybody works the same way with just one medicine. That's insanity. It's better to have a different, everybody works differently under different circumstances. That's how it works. So your doctor and you will know that the best. The doctor's like, well, I know that this treatment can do this. And you're like, well, this is how I react to it. And you work together. And that's how medicine should be, right? In a perfect world. That's how it should be. In the United States and Canada, unfortunately, it is not. But that's how it should
be. I agree. 100%, man. That makes so much sense. But anyway, I didn't expect to go off to be on a healthcare trip.
Well, no, it's like
I don't know that much about this stuff, honestly. I only know about I only know the bottom level of that, just the me part.
Well, we'll move on, but before we move on, like the honest answer is just watch how your body reacts to stuff. Like if you
observation, very important.
Well, it's just like if you start there, it's like I feel like shit after eating this. Then maybe you shouldn't eat that.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Right, then maybe you shouldn't. But trust that. Trust what your body is telling you, because your body will give you all kinds of messages, all the time. It's just learning how to pay attention to those things, right? And because again, it's an understated part of health that's not talked about very often. Because again, but you know what you feel like.
Yeah,
I can't tell you that, right?
Yeah, and actually, this ties in very strongly with with my writing problems lately, because I have a twin brother, for those who don't know. But I get a lot of help from him with my writing, or at least I try to. But the problem with that is he doesn't know how I'm feeling exactly. He has a good idea because I can tell him.
Oh, sure.
But he's not in my head. He doesn't know the minute by minute, hour by hour struggle of writing, say, 5,000, 10,000 words in a day. Which is what
Absolutely.
I do.
Absolutely.
And that's the challenging part of my writing, is because I'm trying to write very quickly. I'm trying to write a lot of words in a short number of days. And it really comes down to that. Like, it doesn't matter how fast I write them per minute, per hour, which I used to measure. No, it's all about days, because the day is the thing that's going to pass regardless. If I spend a minute doing something else, but I still end up with 10,000 words at the end of the day, doesn't matter how many times I slacked off, as long as the word count for the day is the only one that counts, basically. In that regard, because it doesn't matter how fast I do it. I have all the time in the world. I'm a lucky guy that way. Yeah. But one of the key, I mean, if I was more pinched for time, if I had a tougher day job type situation, I would be more concerned about it. But one of the things I've noticed, and that my brother's been trying to get me to do, is to pay more attention to how I'm feeling. This is what ties back to what you were saying.
Oh yeah,
pay more attention to how I'm feeling, because it's not an external obstacle that stops me when I do stop writing. It's me. It's something inside myself that I need to, or inside my story that I need to observe and say, because I discovered, write the book. Like, I need to say, do I really want to write this next scene that I had an idea for? Or maybe that's the problem. I need to write something completely different, or twist the story and go another way. There's all sorts of options there. But I have to know first why. What I'm feeling, most importantly.
Sometimes why it's important in that process too. Like I'm writing right now my sequel to Alice 0, which is Alice 1. So I'm at so I have 3 little scenes left, right? And I have one really big scene. I'm actually gotten to like the big scene. Like I'm actually there right now. And there's gonna be 3 little scenes interspersed throughout, like things I've built up from the whole story, like this big. But I'm nervous, and externally it's because like if like we're talking like the freelance scare. I got paid today. I'm getting paid Friday for another freelance gig. And I don't know when my next paycheck comes in. And the only one I know for sure it's coming in is October. I have nothing in September, right? So this is just me being like very honest about my own processes. I feel a lot more comfortable being creative when I know for sure when money's coming in. But there's a catch. When you're a freelancer, you never know when that actually is. It can be next week, it can be tomorrow, it can be like whatever, right?
Right.
So you have to kind of treat it and approach it as if so what I've had to teach myself in the last like 5 weeks, because I've done like 1 week I made a living wage. That was incredible. Like, it's like, as a creative, it's like first time I've ever done. It's like, holy shit, I made more money that week. But then the next 2 weeks, nothing. And the week after, lots. This week so far, not so much. But that's also because I'm setting a whole bunch of other stuff up too. So it's like, I realize, like, it's recognizing the fact that, right. It's recognizing the fact that my ups and my downs are going to impact my movie when I'm creating creative. And the true solution is to stay creative even when it's hard, when you're not sure what's coming. Because this is just me. Like, this is me looking at my problems honestly. It's like, you freeze when this happens. So you need to stop freezing when this happens and just trust that things are going to work out, because they do work out eventually. Having a little bit of that fear is good. It pushes you forward. But too much fear when you freeze, right, it's not healthy. And that, again, personal weakness, something I understand about myself. It's like, okay, this is something that can get in my way. How do I work around that?
Yeah, no, exactly. I'm going to make another argument I think my brother would also make. Shout out to him if he's watching. But
shout out.
That's to Joe. But but the thing is, if you think too much, this is the other problem. Just thinking about your problem isn't going to solve your problem. Trying to find a key is not the key. You know what I mean? Like, trying to find, there's no solution that's just like, oh, that made your problem evaporate. No, there's nothing like that.
No.
At least not in the creative world. When you're making something, when you're writing a book, when you're doing anything creative, you actually have to do the work.
Yeah, absolutely.
The trick is to get out of your way and to get everything else out of your way.
That's rule 5.
Yeah, exactly.
That's rule 5, right? Yeah. But again, you have to be honest with yourself, and that's a very, and it's not just like, if we're talking, this seems to be a very health theme, not just physical but mental. So might as well just keep rolling with this.
Fair enough.
But health would really, like, if you really want to assess what health is, health really comes down to, like, being honest with yourself with how you're feeling, right? Physically and mentally, figuring out why you feel this way sometimes is important too, right? I'm tired all of a sudden. It's like, why am I so tired? Is it as simple as, I played video games all night last night and I'm an idiot? Or is it, right? Because we were all guilty of that on some level. Or is it, I'm just tired and I'm not sure why I'm so tired. Am I stressed out? Like, what am I feeling? Like, what's going on? What is making this, like, and even with your body, it's like, okay, I feel like, why is my back killing me? Did I lift 20,000 pounds yesterday? No. Did I sit funny? Like, you have to assess yourself honestly. And as you get older, I think it gets hopefully easier.
Well, it's gotten easier for me, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not super old yet. I have some years to go, but I'm
almost 40.
Know,
yeah. So
yeah. So you got a couple years on me, but I'm still learning. And it's and I picked up a lot in my 20s. I can't imagine. I mean, I'm out of my 20s. It's pretty obvious, but I looked like this back then, so no one would be able to tell. It's kind of funny. Anyway, back then, my mid 20s, I was in such a bad place. For like, I must not have had a good night's sleep in like 7 or 8 years at least.
Oh, Jesus.
Before I turned 29, before 2019. It's pretty easy for my age because I was born in 1990. But in 2019, I got a CPAP machine. Finally got some good sleep. That was the beginning of kind of my health journey of late. And before that, I was just kind of spinning. I'd have night terrors every night, basically. I'd wake up terrified and feel like I was in a new body every day. I'd feel like I died overnight and woke back up, and not in a good way.
No, God, no, that sounds horrible.
It was miserable, and I can't believe I even wrote the books I wrote back then. I can't believe I got anything done back then, given how much easier it is to do stuff now.
And you'll never go back. You're like, God damn.
Yeah, I'm not doing that again. I'm not going back to. I'm going to keep this machine until I lose all the weight I need to lose to make it. And maybe that won't even. Maybe I'll still need it. I don't care. I'm going to use it until I don't need it anymore. I'm going to use all the extra vitamins, all the extra whatever. I'm going to I'm going to do whatever it takes to stay feeling better, because I feel a lot better now. I mean, when we first chatted, I'm going to spend a couple of years now.
Yeah.
I was pretty much in this shape. Like, I think maybe it was 2019, I don't remember when we first actually chatted.
2018.
2018. Yeah. So this is before that. This is before we got the CPAP machine. So like, yeah, I don't know if I came off as radically more depressed, but I definitely was.
I when we interact, it's almost like when we interact, there's almost like I've seen you get like eureka moments when we've talked. Yes, that's what I've seen when we've chatted. So if I've helped you along the way, very cool. I'm happy I was able to do that. But it seems like you were ready to evolve on your own. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And
no, I mean, yeah. And not to run you over, but I feel like I should. I shouldn't be the guest to just sit here and listen. You do all the talking, But one of the things I've noticed about life in general is like, it's like, actually, there's this one song. I don't know how familiar you are with Queensryche, the old progressive metal band.
Yeah, I've heard of them for sure. I have not listened to them.
Okay, because then they're one of their best albums, Operation Mindcrime. I think it was 1989. There's this. It's a concept album, but there's one of these lines in there that sticks with me, even though in the context of the album, it is pretty brutal because it's about a guy becoming a hitman. But but one of the lines in the album is, "I've given my life to become what I am." And then, and he sounds like a lunatic when he says it, of course, because that's the point, is that this guy's insane. But that kind of vibe, like, everybody does that, though. That's the thing. That's why that line resonates with me, for reasons they probably did not intend.
No, but it's the truth. It doesn't matter what path your life goes down. It really doesn't. Like, what ends up happening is you keep walking certain doors, and sooner or later, those doors are going to be all you see. That's just the way it is. Like I said, I started freelancing. I wanted to get a steady day job, like doing a menial job, because that, that'd be something I wouldn't have to invest in. I can't do those jobs anymore because the universe has made it very clear to me, nope, not a chance. Like, you have to keep going your path.
Yeah.
Right. I've been doing this for so long and heading in this direction for so long. I can still turn back, but it's going to take a process at this point.
Exactly. You'd have to rebuild yourself.
Yeah. Which you're always free to do.
You're always doing it, but you'd have to change your direction. You'd have to build in a different
absolutely,
way. Yeah,
absolutely. And
you'd lose some of the stuff you have cultivated already. That's the other thing. Most likely, you would. Yeah, exactly. You would, but when you focus on something else, you lose some of the stuff you already built up. You will not have the edge, right, that you have now at the stuff you're good at now, if you sacrifice it to do something else.
Yeah, well, it's also just honestly, like, how I would put this. It's like this. I could tomorrow make the decision to go back to school. I might, somewhere down the road, I might do that. It's not a bad thing. But at the same time, that's time I'm going to be moving away from this. Right? I could make the decision tomorrow, and I don't think I'll ever do this because I think there's not enough alcohol in the world. But I could say, you know what? I'm going to try to get that job at Chrysler. Right? I'm not that guy. I'm just not that guy, and I don't want to be that guy. Yeah. Right. So, right. So, but we always, every day is a chance to reset yourself, no matter where you are in your life. But that transformation is a process, and it takes time. And eventually you go in the direction you're supposed to go. That's it. It's not like super rocket science. It's the only real question is this: are you deliberate in your choices, or do you let your choices to be deliberate for you? Because I think at the end of the day, we all do what we want to do. The question is, which are the desires in control of us, or are we control of our desires? Are we aware of what we want? And I think for everybody, I think that's the real true battle. Life didn't work out this way. I didn't get that married. I didn't have these kids. I didn't have this perfect house. Well, what did you do? Why? Were you afraid to get married? Were you afraid to go for these things? Were you not taking the right risk? Were you blind to the opportunities in front of you? Or was it, or maybe it's like, I'd rather just be by myself. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's just being honest with what that actually is. And that's huge, because it's the only way you can change.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. If you don't have an accurate assessment of your own position, how are you going to go anywhere you want to go from there? You don't know where you are.
Exactly.
It's like having you have a map and there's no "you are here" on it. Like, okay, what good does this do me? I don't know where I'm starting.
How did I get here? And then it's like, I don't know. Well,
again, you just got parachuted in like in a battle royale game, and now you're just stuck there waiting for the walls to close in. Come on, that's pretty much what life is in some ways. I mean, if you look at it a certain way, but if you head toward the middle, if you know where the middle is, you can at least live longer in those games. But that's the analogy starts to break down there. I haven't even played those games. Obviously, I'm not. That's not my style.
Well, what's your game style? Like, what's your games?
Oh, mostly I just play Magic these days, but I like strategy games. Magic Arena is my main one, but
I haven't played that in a few months. I've been playing Shadowverse.
Yeah. Well, I like the card games. That's really been my jam for a long time. But when Magic came out, it's like, oh, this is like an old friend. I'm back. I'm finally back and playing Magic because I don't have to pay money for it anymore. But
yeah, you don't. You really don't.
I just am too much of a cheapskate to buy the new set every time. I can't afford that.
Well, I'm a Commander guy. Like, if I were to go back into Magic, it'd be Commander. I like Commander.
Commander's a good game, good system.
Yeah,
good.
It's also
environment rather.
It's casual. Yes. I mean, I can make this super competitive broken deck, but I don't want to. You know what I want to do? I'm going to attack you with squirrels because I'm evil that way.
I have a competitive deck that attacks people with one squirrel.
That's okay. Is it the squirrel that? Is it the squirrel that when everything attacks you draw cards?
Yeah, it's
yeah, Tosky. Yeah. He's a good squirrel.
And also, but squirrel. Usually I turn him into something else with mutate. But anyway, that's then you get more than one of him. It's great.
No, oh, Jesus! There may be more than one. No, my favorite was the last set with the flip red blue wizards and the flip red blue planeswalker. I really love those cards. Those are evil cards, and I really love them. I'm that kind of. I am the asshole that wrecks combos. You're gonna get me a vampires.
Oh, that sounds like a threat.
That is
aristocrats,
a threat.
Aristocrats, or something else.
Yeah, there's this. So back when I was playing competitive, so the deck was literally Return to Ravnica Aristocrats.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it was like in Innistrad. I know there's Vampire Commander. There's some really good vampires too, but. You should tell us what your color scheme is. See, I'm red blue. Is it all the way? If I have third,
I can't do those. I can't do red or blue. Really, maybe.
Well, no, Niv Mizzet's my all-time. Like the original Niv Mizzet is my all-time favorite card. I know it's an evil card, right? It's evil, but you know why?
I don't think we can be friends anymore.
Well, I'll tell you why it's my favorite card. I think you'll actually appreciate why it's my favorite card.
Sure.
The flavor text. If you turn him sideways, it's actually Niv Mizzet. Like he actually says his name as a math equation. I thought it's the most ingenious thing. Like it's my all-time favorite flavor text because it's like you look at it, it looks like some stupid equation, but if you actually turn it sideways, right? It's his name. It's his name. It's actually
that's so silly.
Yeah, but it's fun, right? That's why. Yeah. Oh, ew.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Lately, I've been playing like monocolored decks, but that's most constructed,
My favorite monocolor, believe it or not, is white. Like I love drafting it, and I love
aggro.
I love White Weenie. White Weenie is such a fun deck. I like the fact that white's got like this cool, like it's an underrated toolbox. White can do anything blue can. Not quite as good, but it does do everything. But what I really like about it is like these creatures are efficient. They're like toolbox creatures, right? Sarah Angel's a classic. My all-time favorite angel though is Baneslayer. Just saying, Baneslayer Angel is makes the red player go, here's my belly, I give up because
it's over now.
Pretty much.
I can't beat that thing. Unless they got some giant burn spell.
Oh yeah. Well,
but you're playing red aggro. You're not going to have that. You're dead.
Well, not only that. I was playing. I got back. My last standard format was from the original Zendikar to Theros. Actually, no, Khans of Tarkir. I played that whole era. So I discovered the Battle Cry deck on my own, and then I ran into this thing called Baneslayer Angel. And Baneslayer Angel said, "No more battle cry," in which I said, "No more battle cry," because that's a little too good.
Ruined.
It's dead. But I just like, but I dig white because white's got such an interesting toolbox, and I think it's out of all the colors, it's the most unappreciated. Mono black's evil, mono green's ridiculous, mono red deck wins is like, you could literally make the argument that red's the best color of all time.
I mean, especially right now. I mean, with the current standard, is red is so dominant. It'll change in a few months, but perhaps when they get rid of Embercleave. But because of things like Goldspan Dragon, you can have.
Insane.
I mean, you can have a red aggro deck, or you can have like a red control deck with a little blue thrown in there. Maybe.
Well, Goldspan's a crazy card.
It's so broken. It's so powerful. Not broken, but very powerful. I think it's a fair card, but extremely unfair sometimes.
No, it's a ridiculously good card.
I mean, and those, and I mean, I love Mutate as a mechanic for Ikoria, but I never built the Mutate deck that used the dragon. And that dragon, when you mutate your Goldspan Dragon into like anything with any of the cards that bring spells back from your graveyard or cast them for your graveyard, the game starts to break. It's impossible to beat those decks sometimes.
Yeah. Well, no, it's.
I mean, it becomes a part where like, wait a minute, you're casting that spell and you made 2 treasures. Okay, now you have 4 more mana and you can cast whatever the hell you want. It's crazy.
Last time I was tinkering with Standard, it was like watching that dragon bring down Ugins was just gross.
Well, yeah.
Ugin was busted back in when I was playing Standard. I'm a rogue deck builder, so my last rogue deck before I officially retired from Standard was a I bullied red deck wins because this was in cons when the red deck wins was still very dominant. It was Innistrad cons block, and so they'd play their deck. So what I did was I used heroic to beat the deck. I used Agent of Fates, Artisan of Forms, and the Karatai. Like I made it was and the Rakasha Death Dealer. And I smashed mono red. I smashed it. When I played a red player, I loved it because they couldn't do anything to me. If I played like the big ramp deck. If Ugin came down, I lost. But I accepted. I accepted that. Right? It's like if Ugin comes down, I scoop. It's over. But if you don't have Ugin, I can play you and I can beat you. It is hilarious. It was hilarious killing them with a better version of Storm Breath. Turning my Artisan of Forms into a Storm Breath Dragon and then triggering the Monstrous because I had the mana with the Karatides. It was hilarious to do to the red deck, the red players, because it was just like, so when they're siding out their dragons because they're not good against you at all, it's funny. It is just
this is starting to go a little over my head because I actually missed those blocks. I was out because I didn't have the
money
to play
the heroic.
So
the heroic.
It's I understand the mechanics for the most part. Heroic and monstrous, I get those. Those are from Theros, right?
Yeah.
But I very little idea of what that environment was like at the time.
Well, it was another red. It was either red dominant. It was very red dominant, and this was like the anti-red deck. I built an anti-red deck that was just smashed it. Right, and I did it by accident because I just wanted to bully the red deck. It was my bully deck. I called it the Saltai Bully because it did. It bullies the red deck. Now against anything else, like some matchups were better than others, but against anything else, it could lose. But against red,
that's the thing. If you're playing red, if enough people play red, though,
well, that's it. I did really well in that tournament because that was my last actual competitive tournament. Because it's like, I'll smash red. I can't smash Ugin, but I can smash red.
And there's enough of those that it doesn't matter. I mean, necessarily, or you can still do well while.
I did well. I lost, but red. I did well. Right?
Of course, most people are going to lose. It's a tournament, you know.
well, I ran into Ugin. I mean, okay,
eventually you get stomped out.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I lost to Ugin. Whatever, right? And
it reminds me of was it Sean Plott, Day 9 here on Twitch, and his story about how he wasn't really a Magic player at the time. He was a StarCraft pro or not pro, but StarCraft tournament winner back in the day. I don't know if you consider it a pro or not. I'm not sure. I was never really that into StarCraft.
Fair enough.
But I mean, I was also never good at it. That's the most important thing. But day 9 had this story about how he went to the Grand Tour, and it was so funny because he got invited to go to play the Grand Tour, and he just got destroyed in the first match, which is funny because, like, of course, I mean, he's not really he just got invited because he's kind of he got invited because he's, a cool celebrity type guy who talked about Magic, and so he just got eaten by somebody, presumably. Anyway, yeah, exactly. Shoutcaster for StarCraft 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was my introduction to streaming. I actually was watching Day 9 do stuff like that. And he also had he had this show called Mostly Walking. I think is still going, but which he has these 2 other game designers on, and that are friends of his, and they all just talk about these adventure games they're playing, these old school adventure games that he's playing while he plays them. It's pretty cool. Yeah. I mean, I know he's still going. I wasn't sure if he's still doing Mostly Walking. That's the 2 other guys as well. Anyway,
yeah,
good show.
No, I love Twitch as a community, like I said, and I kind of feel like I'm finally prepared to actually get really involved in it now. Finally, but now that
it's about time. How many episodes have you done at Twitch?
nearly 200. Right,
there
so you go. I go all in, dude. It's just that's who I am.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm trying to do more of now, because for a long time I actually had a lot of trouble because of my various problems. I had trouble doing anything, committing to anything. And I've only recently been getting better at that, because like my series, for example, I would start a series and I'm like, nah, I don't really like this. I'm not going to do more of it. Or I'd start a series and I'm like, I did 3 books. It was hard enough to do 3 books. I need to do something else. But the current series I'm working on, I'm going to try to do all 6 books back to back.
Mm-hmm.
And even though, I mean, they're not that long, but 6 books back to back, I mean, probably release them all by the end of the year. I hope. Maybe even by the end of October. That's kind of the goal here.
Dang.
And I have only written 1.5 of them. And
okay.
the one that was out is called The Forgotten Mask, but I'm rebranding, which is kind of a weird thing to do early in the series, but I think this is the time to do it. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do a new cover, probably a new series title for this series. Because I realize the covers, because I make my own covers, so it's not a cost thing for me. But I also don't always hit it right, because I'm not an expert at that. I'm pretty good at making covers, but I'm no expert,
Well, it's also just because like sometimes when you write something, the tone changes because right, and you what you originally thought was going to be like this great thing, it's still a great thing. It's just not the thing you imagined it was going to be.
More important in this case, I mean, that definitely happens, but in this case, what happened was the first book took 7 years to write, and in the middle of it, well, it was mostly sat on the shelf for 5 years. But and then I finished it this year. I wrote the first 10,000. I wrote the last 10,000 words this year. Yes, but the first 10K, the first 50,000 words were all done basically back in 2014, and then I edited them again this year, of course, because there was a lot to fix. 2014 me didn't know a lot of the stuff I know now. But then I wrapped up, and then I wrapped it up. Came out a nice 60-some thousand words, pretty good. And I had covers that I'd commissioned and I'd helped make back in, I don't know when, somewhere in between, right? When I thought I was going to be done with it sooner. And I thought, oh, these covers are good, but they're so dark and they don't really describe the story that I'm telling. So and even the series title, the original series title is Temple Theater. That's what it is right now as I'm saying this, but it occurs to me that that's not even described in the book very well. So I'm going to have to work on it. And I kind of come up with a new title, but I don't know if I'm going to reveal it here. Well, why not? I guess Twisted Gods, kind of the title I'm running with now.
Nice.
Because it is a story. It's about like a pantheon of gods and the people, the humans. It's about the people who are being pushed around by this pantheon of gods, let's say. And so, yeah, Twisted Gods seems to make sense to me. And Temple Theater was always such a weird, it was the working title of the story, but it doesn't make it. It doesn't call to fantasy readers, and it is a fantasy series, very heavy on the fantasy. So, yeah.
No, that sounds cool. I'm literally playing with Greek gods in my series right now, right? So I mean, I'm having fun. I'm having fun with it. I'm not going to spoil it too much because it's almost ready to go. But I never imagined it would be so fun to be writing about these characters that are thousands of years old.
Oh yeah.
Did you make up your own pantheon, or did you base them up?
There's actually 12 of them. They're based on they each have a number on the clock face. Okay. They're actually the clock pantheon, but they just resemble Greek or Norse gods in that they're very human-like in some regards. They've got foibles. They're not ethereal beings, though they're much more Norse even than Greek. I just think of those as kind of the similar style, even though Greek gods are way more powerful in the mythology, I think, technically. If you look at it, I mean, it's hard to say, but the Norse gods are some of the most human gods you're going to see in any mythology. They die, bad stuff happens to them all the time. You know,
it depends.
At least, and they have to team up to do anything a lot of the time. So they seem weaker in some ways, and they also can't transform a guy into a woman into a spider, for example, like the Greek gods kind of habitually do.
Well, the Greek gods are dicks. I mean, that's the
part that's my story is kind of gets inspiration from. That's why that comes to mind first. But then they're more, but power level they're a little lower, and they walk around among humans, so they're like god kings and stuff too.
Well,
pretty like which is good. Yeah. Anyway, go on.
My favorite thing about the Norse gods is again their human aspect. Like Thor would party, with mortals all the time. Right. Loki's my favorite pre-Baldur death. Like he's such an interesting character pre-Baldur because he's not a good guy. He's not a bad guy. He's himself.
Yeah.
And that's when he's at his most interesting. My favorite all time is when he got Thor's hammer back by making Thor wear a wedding dress.
I love that story. Yeah.
It's hilarious. And because it's like, someone's got to wear the wedding dress. You look at Thor. It's like, what are you looking at me? It's your hammer. It's not mine. I ain't wearing.
But you're the shapeshifter. I mean, I can already imagine that dialogue nowadays.
Yeah. It's you're the one
who you could actually change into a woman.
And Loki goes, well, yeah, but it ain't my hammer. I don't care that much.
Yeah, I'm not
doing
yours.
That. Yeah, I'm not doing that. No. Not anything gonna be fun at all. You're doing this because you were an idiot, and it's like that. That's a great
that dynamic.
That's such a fun dynamic. And the other one with the task where Loki was racing an old woman, and it turns out he was racing death, and he was able to actually keep up, which was crazy. Thor, they did these 3 tasks, and the gods, Thor and Loki, were given these 3 tasks, and they failed at all of them. But in their failure, it was impressive. Because what they saw and what everybody else saw was completely different. Like Loki was racing this old woman. No, he was racing death, and he lost, but he was able to keep up for a long, long time. Thor had to lift what looked like something mundane. He was lifting the axis of the earth, and for a moment, it actually crumbled under his might, right? Because he was that strong. And I forget what the third one was, but they both failed, and they felt really terrible about it until they realized what they were up against. I think that's the other reason why I like that.
It's a great metaphor. Jeez.
Yeah.
It's terrific for how it's just human life, right? Like you can't outrun death forever. You can, no matter how strong you are, you're not going to move the world for long. Yeah.
But the fact that they were able to do it,
but you can do it.
Yeah. For a minute, it's like, holy shit, like they're awesome, right?
Yeah,
that's
right.
Right. And that's a really, like, I keep that theme when I interview people too, because again, we all forget this in some form or fashion. Is we all accomplish amazing things. Like you're trying to do a 6-book series by like what, November?
End of October, hopefully. I mean, maybe mid-November. We'll see how long they actually take. But I mean, I do 10 or 12,000 words a day. It shouldn't take that long. I'll be done. It's just how long it takes. And on 5 days a week, by the way. I take the weekends off.
So that's right. Jag, he does a novel a week. If he doesn't, right, like, you sit there and think about that, he does a novel a week. If that doesn't make me feel inadequate, I don't know what will.
No, I haven't done that yet. Okay, let me be clear here. I've not done that yet, but I know I can do it. I've written that many words in a day. I just need to do it 5 days in a row, consistently.
So again, see.
You don't have to feel terrible. Everyone has their own pace. Come on, and everyone has their own challenges.
No. But that's how amazing. Like again, I don't feel like I feel like I'm not looking at it from I don't measure up. Me doing a 15,000 word poem, which is where my book's currently at, right? Jay, it takes as long as it takes. Like actually, and to echo his sentiment, right? We talked about this very early on in the chat, is about that self-assessment. Sometimes when you're writing a book, you're not ready to tell that story. You're just not, for whatever that reason is. And that's okay, right? It's not like, life's not a race. Thank God all of us would be fucking. It's a marathon. It's not a race. It's a marathon.
Absolutely.
Right.
And the other, and like I said, I'll refer to you to my earlier point where I said it took me 7 years to write book 1, which is only 60,000 words long, and on and off I worked on it, but it still took 7 years to get done by the days. That's a long time for me, but also it's a long time for anybody to write a book.
Yeah, no, it is,
and yet it's also an appropriate time for that book. So it'll happen.
So no, here's the point, Jag. This is the point where we're going to get to. It doesn't matter how long it takes.
Mm-hmm.
What matters is that you're doing it. That's impressive. You're not quitting. You're going and you're doing it. And that's it. Like, again, it's not if we were going to measure each other from what we all accomplish, there's no real way to measure that, because everybody's in a different circumstance. Here's what matters. Don't cheat yourself.
Yeah.
That's it. That is the whole of it all. Wherever you're at, that's fine. No one can judge you for that. Don't cheat yourself.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And sometimes cheating yourself would mean selling the book short. Doing something you didn't want to put in the book, or doing something you think, oh, I have to do this. If you're ever saying I have to do this with a book, it's just slowing you down. Stop saying I have to do it. Just do the part. Just put the stuff in the book that you instinctually want to see there. That's my advice in general. That's how I go faster anyway. And I'm not sure if it'll be helpful for you. Maybe you're an outliner. Maybe you're a planner. But I was a planner too. I was, but not anymore. And now I do a lot better when I have no notes in front of me, when I don't stop to think about this stuff, and I just kind of rock on. So I don't know what you're saying. Oh, heck no to, but
yeah. You have to clarify, Jag. But no, but like, yeah. Well, you don't have to. Again, it doesn't. Again, there's no right way to do it. When I outline, I like having a small one. Not like I'm not a slave to it, but I need to know or if I have an idea where it's supposed to go, right? I can keep going even if the journey goes completely left turn.
Yeah.
I don't care. It's just I have a map of like, this is where I'm supposed to go, at least for now. And I'm okay throwing it away. I'm not a plotter. I'm not a planner. I'm not a planner. I'm not a pantser. I'm like a planter. I do a little bit of both. That's what I do. So it works for me. Right? Tim?
I start with a premise. I don't just take off into the dark. I'm not quite like that. But I have a premise, and I know my genre, and then I go. And I do what I have, and I have fun. That's the other thing. If you're not having fun, it's so difficult to write. So make sure you're enjoying your story. But I'm not saying you're not. I'm not saying you're not. I'm just saying, if you're not, be sure to check yourself. Like, be honest. Is this the story you want to tell?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's
ultimately, it might not work,
So at the end of the day, that's all that matters, right? So sounds like, speaking of fun, you having fun, man? With your writing, everything is going.
I'm having a good time. Yeah. I mean, it's been. I mean, I only did 5K yesterday. I did not as many today. Actually, I did like a chapter today, so 2,000. But I'm getting there. I'm powering up. I should have this novel knocked out by the Friday night, or maybe Saturday morning if I really screw around.
It's okay, man.
But hey, if that happens, it happens. Just keep going.
Well, yeah.
But it's not about the speed necessarily. It's just about the power of the fun I'm having, because then the book just has to get done. And honestly, there's some books I've lingered on for a long. I mean, then actually, this is how I'm trying to look at it now. That's why I'm telling a series, so I can get the books done, but there's still more to do. That's what I like about doing a series now. And I'm beginning to adapt my attitude, which used to be like, I want to bounce around. I just want to do all the weird stuff all the time. Every book needs to be completely different than the last book. And that's not only more difficult than just writing a series and enjoying it, which is and a lot of readers want a series anyway. But it's more work for me. So sticking with one thing, and it also gets rid of some of the joy. I really enjoy these characters now. I really love the books I'm writing. And so that's really important. Yeah.
It sounds to me you've become more character driven as time has gone on.
I think so too. Yeah, and it helps to know there's a really simple lesson. I mean, I'm not one to purvey writing advice in general. I try, at least not in broad sweeps. But if you're writing genre fiction, especially, keep your characters simple. Yeah, they don't have to be like the most. I mean, yeah, deep but simple. I think that's stronger than something that's like, oh, he's all these like traits and stuff and all these gimmicks and tricks that make people remember him. No, I mean, give her like the one thing that defines her, and then we'll build everything else around that. Like, and I mean, and I don't mean like give one thing. I mean for example, like I wasn't using this technique when I wrote the first book of my series for the Forgotten Mask, but I realized when I looked back at it that the main character's defining trait is he's foolish. He always puts his foot in his mouth. He makes mistakes. And I mean, it can be that simple. It can be that simple. It can be that general. But especially socially, this guy is he's not good. He's an oaf. He's he's a bull in a china shop. And that's fun for me. That's what I liked about him. And that's why I'm really emphasizing that in book 2 and onward.
Well, and that's like, so you're a Flashman dude? I'm just going to ask this off the top of my... Did you ever read Flashman?
No. I've never heard of it.
Oh, dear God. George MacDonald Fraser, Flashman, is like, he is the epitome of the hero you don't want in history, but he's really, really hilarious. And Fraser's Flashman series is so entertaining and so like, it's a great way to do historical fiction and keep a character consistent throughout. And he does it like sometimes like in the only Discworld stuff I'm not crazy about as I've gotten older is Rincewind, right?
Yeah,
because Rincewind's like a one note.
He's a farcical character. I mean, like literally, like in the literal sense of his stories are farces. They're silly, but they're not necessarily deeper than that.
The only one that is Eric Sorcerer.
Oh yeah,
Sorcerer.
I like Eric
That one's the only one I really like of his. The rest of them, meh. But the reason being is because, again, his joke plays out. Although the Flashman's the same joke, it's because it's at different points in history. He just can't help being who he is, and it's so funny, right? So I think
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, yeah. Look up the Flashman novels, and they are without a doubt like some of me trying to branch out a little bit. My favorite character stuff, though, and I'm going to be like, this is going to probably shock some people. I'm really dig Ilana Andrews. Okay. The Kate Daniels stuff is really, really good, right?
I haven't read them. I've heard a lot of good things though. So
they are.
I'm behind in my reading. Actually, I picked up more. I've been reading a lot more lately though, as I've gotten more energy. So that's good. I'm making a list.
Ilana Andrews, like Kate Daniels series. Kate's a really, it's like watching her evolution, and those two do relate. Like Ilana Andrews is a husband-wife team, and they do relationships exceptionally well. It is that urban fantasy romance borderline, but the voices, like the character voices, are so good, like just really, really good. And it's like Kate's hilarious, very Russian in terms of the sense of humor is just really, really funny. And you can read and you can read a little bit of their stuff online, and you're like, they have a Quran point of view for some of the key moments in the series. You don't read that until you get to like until you read certain points. But man, the perspective he has on some things is hilarious, right? Reading the behind the commentary. But they get characters so well. I don't care how strong Quran is. I don't care how much. I mean, it's cool that Kate Daniels is a badass. It's fun that she's a badass.
Yeah.
But it's better to imagine those things, how bad they are in your head, right? You want to make it when they do something, it matters. Not, hey, I'm a level 5 Paladin. I am holier than thou, and I have this really cool prayer type thing, right? No one cares. I'm a paladin trying to...
Sorry. Go on, sorry. No. You go on. You were going somewhere.
I'm a paladin trying to save my sister from this curse. That's a more interesting story already.
Yeah, and even in the powers department, I mean, I like my magic and powers and things, but in the powers department, it's actually, I think it's more fun if you give the characters like a couple things they can do, and they can do them really well. I tend to like that better than a platter of powers, because even though it's like if you forget your if the reader could honestly forget, like in Naruto or something, like, oh wait, I forgot he could do that. by the end of by the final chapter. Like, and then he does it. I'm like, well, okay, but I forgot about that. I mean, I'm not saying that actually happens in Naruto. I thought the ending was better than that. But it was like that in a series like that, it's easy to get lost in like the amount of weird nonsense that the characters learn.
Or if you're gonna do that, at least make the characters endearing. Like I love Fairy Tail. I love Fairy Tail,
Okay,
but
yeah.
but I know what the ending of the story is going to be every time they fight a new bad guy. Natch is going to beat the big bad. That's what's going to happen. Now he might get help with his friends, and they all do help him in some various way. But you know that it's a kid's story. Natch is going to save the day at the very end. That's how it's going to go. But what saves that show is all the characters in the guild are so likable, right? Even though there are some of them are freaking insane in like the best possible ways, right? They're likable. They feel like real people that you can root for in some form or fashion. And watching these characters overcome their own obstacles and instances, that's far more interesting than the actual. They have the battle because it's a battle anime, but their own actual inner battles and their inner growth is so much more interesting to watch. That's what changes in every arc. The basic plot's the same. I have evil, terrible wizard and his gang coming into town, and they're going to kick everybody's ass for the first like 2 or 3 episodes, and then it's about playing catch up the whole time. It's formulaic. Who cares? It works. Right?
Sometimes the formula is good enough. I mean, like if that's not what the story's about, just use the formula for the parts that aren't what your story's about.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, and it's fine. People are going to enjoy that part too. I mean, I like the Blacklist a lot, and the Blacklist is mostly there's a lot of police procedural elements in there, and I don't even like those on their own, but they're done well enough that I'm like, I don't care that this is a show I wouldn't watch if it was all this.
Characters can carry anything. That's something I've learned as I've gotten. I've learned characters carry everything. You can write about anything you want. I can do a penguin zombie apocalypse. I can make that interesting. I can make a jar of dirt cool if the character is interesting enough.
Yeah, definitely. That's one to grow on, especially with a jar of dirt. You can plant something in there.
That's right, big time. And there's all kinds of jokes there, but I'll be good. At least for this episode. Oh man, dude. So you're going back into doing more hosting. Yeah. Excited?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, co-hosting the show. I mean, honestly, it's just because I've been running a game. I've been running RPGs with my my co-host from the old show, and I'm like, and I've been recording them because I just didn't want to take notes. And I'm like, now I have 50, 45, 35, whatever game sessions I can just turn into shows. All I have to do is record the intros, and this can start going out. And that's kind of convenient because people are for some reason picking up that old Mooks and Monsters podcast still. So I think it's time to give them something to come back for.
I got a new season. Actually, exactly. That's it. Ladies and gentlemen, I have this great new season. And go do that great new season. You know?
Exactly. Yeah, I probably will do it seasonally too, because who knows how long this is gonna. My game streak has been good, but who knows how long it'll keep going.
Well, you got 50 episodes. If you got 50 episodes, that's a year right there. If you
really 35 episodes. Sorry, I was overdoing it.
That's still a year. You can make that like that's my series season cap, and then if I feel like it again next time, right? So
yeah, no problem. No, yeah, definitely. It's gonna be good. I'm really looking forward to releasing those. I just need to make the time. You know, maybe writing 10,000 words a day is going to delay that a little bit. But you know, if it happens, it happens. I'll roll with it.
Tim Niederriter, show off. There you go.
Well, you know, that's what happens when you take all your when you balance yourself. You can actually do some things you wouldn't think were possible before.
Absolutely. It sounds like it's been a good self-improvement.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's awesome.
I agree. It's fun to be here. It's fun to be in the middle of it.
Well, it's fun to be it's fun to be in a happier place, and I honestly wish you the best for that. I do think, sir, we have a pretty good interview here. What do you think?
I'd say we do. Yeah. And some fun, very interesting health facts as well.
It's not stuff. The first. It's my background. It's just this is what I
bleeds into it. I know how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. So that all said, guys, tomorrow is going to be a very. We're going to let Tim plug in just a second. I just want to say this before we get to the plugs. tomorrow is a very my first ever live music performance on this podcast. It's gonna be a first. Yeah, I know. You gotta come back, man. You just be on the other side asking questions. But like Jag, it's gonna be wild. I it's crazy that the show has evolved to this point. I never imagined that. Live performances. I mean, what's next? I know it's next. Talk show. Me sitting in like a comfortable thing, wearing like a fuchsia suit, and like, let's go. I'm gonna make you go blind, and then I'm gonna have and here are my guests. But that's it.
And I'm just imagining you on a set and destroying it like the Eric Andre show, like smashing everything right before the show even starts, and sit at the desk and interview your guest.
That's a cool skit. I'll remember that. But so your book's coming out when? October, the first one?
No. The first one comes out. The first one's already out. That's the funny thing. The Forgotten Mask is out, but I mean, I'll either be re-releasing it or relaunching it soon by the end of August.
Okay.
Book 2 should be out in August, because I'm almost done with it. And then book 3 probably September. Book 2 is called Beloved of Death, and it involves the death god fairly heavily, so duh. But anyway, then we have Time's Needle. That should be book 3, and I'm not going to go down the list, rattle off all the other titles that aren't out yet. But also, and I've got more books coming in other series after that. I mean, 3 more books hopefully by the end of October as well. So that'd be, Time's Needle definitely in September. After that, who knows? But it could be as soon as the end of October that all 6 of them are out. So yeah, just watch this space, and then there will be more books. It won't be stopping there. It'll just keep happening. But that series will probably be wrapped after the 6th book. Probably, but who knows?
So now
I'm redoing the covers now, so I can actually do more books if I want to. Before I was limited because I had 7 covers, 1 for the reader magnet, 6 for the series, and now I'm like, now I'm making my own covers. I can just make as many as I want. So that series could go on a while. I don't know.
So do you have a link where people can find?
Oh yeah, definitely. You can find my books at timniederriter.com. So it's just my name /books, and you can see all my books there. I finally got it. And they all have links to the different store pages and stuff. They're all books to read links, I think.
Did I get that
right? That's the one.
Woohoo!
You nailed it. Hey, you got the spelling right and everything. Good job.
I've been reading enough times. I can't screw this up as much anymore. And
eventually you learn.
Eventually. You're still doing your regular show as well on Sundays?
I still do a live after reading that comes out every Sunday. I slowed down the releases there because I'm a little bit busy, as you might guess. I was doing 2 a week for a while at the start of this year, but now I'm doing just 1 a week. At Sunday mornings, 7:30 Central, that show drops, and you can be the first one there to pick it up. I guess you don't have to be. It's a podcast. You can get whenever it's not live like this.
So again, the website for that?
That's just go to mentalcellularpublications.com or timniederriter.com. It's the only thing in the feed most days.
All right, there you go.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. I'm here to promote. That's what I'm supposed to do. So
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So that is this episode of Just Joshing. I'd love to know what you guys think of the new sound. I hope you guys dig it. Tomorrow, Zoo, the band, is coming out, and they're going to be here. It's going to be wild. For my own stuff, hit the like and follow button on Twitch. Hit the like and subscribe button on my channel, Joshua Pentelaresco, if you haven't already. Alice 0 is up for the Elgin Award. Alice 1 comes out November 1st. If you guys are looking to sponsor the podcast, or if you're looking for writing or editing services, give me a shout. Outside of that, stay inspired, keep shining in the dark, and I will see you guys tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time.
Bye-bye.